You're just thinking about it.
We're live now on mine.
It says live here.
There, now we're doing it. Okay.
That's that taco.
That could be it. Hey, hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us again for another session of Bill and Ammon's Bogus Hangout. Go around this table and introduce ourselves. Sarah? Let's
Hi.
go first for a change.
Hi, I'm Sarah Altair, and I'm a content writer.
Steve?
Steve Grinzer, gentleman farmer, CMO over at Web Narwhal, and lead craftsman at Alchemy Skunk Works, and road warrior, and all-around agent of chaos.
Simon?
Simon Cox, Lingfield in the UK, the very poor UK. I'm a technical SEO something, and I was going to say something else. I've completely forgotten what it was now. Oh, I bake bread. Bake bread.
Break bed?
Do that as well, yes.
Terry?
Terry Van Horn, Toronto, Ontario. Kind of retired. Yeah, that's about it. And Steve is a farmer, not a gentleman farmer. There's nothing gentle about
That's fair. That's fair.
And I'm Doc Sheldon, the CEO over at Web Narwhal. So, what kind of excitement have we had this week? We've gone 3 or 4 days without a major update. That's right there is enough to drive you to drink. Like I needed a drive.
for a reason.
Yeah. Been pretty quiet here the last few days. Something I brought up in the green room that I think is worth a little bit of discussion. I've seen an awful lot of folks talking about their hesitance to adjust their prices. Some of them have started out at ridiculously low prices. They're charging $100, $150 a month for organic SEO. And they're swamped with a dozen clients that they barely find time to eat and sleep. And then others that seem to have a pretty good handle on it. I know when I first started out online 20 some years ago, just doing content, I did a little bit of looking around on Google. I saw people were charging for content, and for little piddly ass 300-word blog posts, I was charging $2 a pop. And I could put out 10 or 12 of those things in a day, no problem. And it didn't take me very long to realize that I wasn't making any money like that. So it became 5, then 10, then 20, then 30, then 50. And now I'm charging about $200 for a 500, 700-word blog post. And the way I did that, I simply told my existing clients, rates are going to go up in a month or 2 months. I usually target about 2 months down the road. And I immediately started that price with the new clients. And with some of my old clients, I've really given them, a buddy rate of 50, 60% off because they've been with me for a long time. So, the thing is, you got to look at your time and what you're bringing in. If you're having to spend 6 hours a week on a client for $150, you'd be better off sitting out the corner with a tin cup because you're not making any money like that. And every minute that you're spending on those $1 a minute or $1 an hour clients is a minute you can't spend with somebody who's willing to pay you $30 an hour.
But if you don't have a $30 an hour client, you
Yeah.
not only don't have work, you're not eating, you have no income.
Well, you gotta, there's a balance, and it's going to be different for everybody. Sometimes you got to take what you can get. Sometimes you gotta just cut your losses and say, nope, I'm not going to take anybody under X amount per hour. I don't normally charge, like for instance, on my content work, I've never charged by the word. I charge by the piece. You tell me you want about a 700-word blog post on X topic, I'll give you a price and you'll get that post, and it's going to be at least 700 words unless I call you and say, you know what, there's just no way I can do 700 words on this thing without it being 50% fluff. And we'll adjust the price downward. And I'll give you a 400 word post. But if I got to go 1,200 words, it's not going to jack the price up because that's what it took to cover the topic adequately. Because I'm trying to get you something that's going to convert. Because I'm trying to convert you into a long-term client, so if I can keep you happy, you're going to keep my bank account happy. And it's going to be, sometimes you feel like you're stabbing around in the dark, trying to figure out, you've got different clients and they're going to respond different ways. I've had people that just went off on me because I said prices are going to go up in 60 days. And I was going to take them up like 10% for the first time in 2 years. And they went off and fired me. And I call that's a win. Okay. Good to be rid of you. Good riddance.
That is a win. That is a win. I think that's one of the hardest things when people are starting out. I think that's one of the hardest things to understand, that the people who aren't willing to pay you, an honest rate really aren't your clients.
They're going to be nickel and diming you all along the way.
They are. They're going to be nickel and diming you over everything and eat up your time and your energy. And it's better to be rid of them. And I do the same thing. It's about 60 days. And I've only had once somebody they couldn't do it. And I said, okay, well, I'm sorry, then we need to part company. But I mean, people understand rates. If they tell you they don't understand rates, it's just what Terry said. You're off on the wrong foot and it's only going to get worse.
Yep.
Cursed clients, the minute you see that kind of behavior, it always gets worse. It never gets better.
Yeah, I used to kind of work on I called it the pipeline. So there's only so many hours a day you want to work.
Right.
And as that pipeline gets filled, when you get a new customer, you go to the one you hate the most.
Out of
and
here.
Tell them they're going to pay more or they're going to go. And the other thing is, you should know whether your clients are making money or not.
Yeah.
And if they're not making money, you can't go to them and ask for more money. That's just not right because you're not making. You're
not doing your job.
There's no there's no positive ROI on it either. And people will keep giving you more as long as they're making more. So that's kind of how I always worked it. As the pipeline becomes fuller, I just start increasing the rates. Sometimes for the new customers as it fills up.
Sort of similar to that, Terry, I always had a rule that I only want to work so many hours in a week, period. Yeah. And when I get to where I'm consistently filling those hours every single week, and I've got no more time, that's when I raise my rates. You will always lose people off the bottom. That's just the nature of it. But what you will find is you will gain people on the top who didn't take you seriously before because you didn't charge enough. That's why some of these agencies can get away with charging $300, $400, $500 an hour because their clients expect to pay that much. And when you come in at 175 or 200, they're like, "Oh, well, you must not know what you're doing. You're not charging enough."
I used to say the difference between an agency cost and the consultant's cost. The consultant drives a Chevrolet. The agency's driving a Mercedes. That's what you're paying for. For that guy to drive a Mercedes instead of because I've never seen an agency yet that did better work than a consultant who specializes.
This is true, but you also have to take into account that the people hiring the agency are driving Lambos. You know what I mean?
Not all.
But a lot of the time
I see
they
what
are.
you mean.
You know, they expect they eat at more expensive restaurants. They go on more expensive vacations. If you don't charge enough, they won't take you seriously. I've had clients like that in the past that simply would not listen to me because I wasn't charging them enough.
My-
And then the guy, then they'd hire some coach and get charged 20 grand and get totally screwed. And it's like, and the coach told them all kinds of weird shit. And it's like, no, none of that works. But since they were paying 20 grand for it, that's what we did.
Yep. Well, I think it's sometimes it can be a tough thing for somebody to try to step back and be objective and understand, like you say, if you don't appear to value your own advice enough, then you can't really expect the client to. And if you're willing to work for $50 a month or $100 a month, they can get that at Fiverr, and get just as dedicated attention as they're going to expect to get. You may be the sharpest guy in the world, but if you don't appear to value your advice, you can't expect them to. It's scary sometimes to say, okay, I'm going to take a chance. I may lose a client if I do this. But like Steve says, a lot of times, you'll lose one or two from the bottom, but you'll pick up one or two at the top that makes up for twice what you lost.
Mhm.
Never.
And you'll also find out that the more expensive clients tend to not bother you as much with the stupid stuff.
Right. They expect you to know what you're doing and to do it. And the ones who don't want to pay, your standard rate, and they question everything you do, and they want explanations, and it's not even that. Oftentimes it's not even that they understand your explanations. It's just that it's a different way of nickel and diming and wasting your time. I think that's the other part of learning how to have rates that will support you is learning the signs of people who are going to eat up your time. And so they cost you money.
You have to charge by the hour. People who charge so much per month are cheating themselves with clients like that.
Yes.
Like if you ask me anything, I send you an email, I charge you for it. You call me up, I charge you for it. You want me at a meeting, I charge you for it. Right? Because I'm selling my time in that pipeline. So I want X per hour, depending on the work I'm doing. Like personally, what I charge for SEO in 97, right? I only charged the last job I did, I was only charging $25 more an hour than I was then. Like I was half of what most people were. But that, to me, I don't do it for the money. And
the other thing I think it's important too for folks that are either starting out or just starting to think about trying to scale their operation a little bit. There's a lot of things that you can do to, I won't say automate, but to make more efficient what you do.
Yeah, systematize.
And I found ways to do now in 45 minutes what I used to take 3 hours to do, because I was building an Excel spreadsheet and finding out how to write this macro to do the calc and compare and all this. And there's tools out there. And if I got to spend $69 a month for that tool, that's money well spent if it saves me 12 hours a month,
The thing is, there aren't many tools that save you that much. I don't know a tool yet that I got a positive ROI from.
Processes that save you. Yeah, I do. There's processes that save you time, and tools normally are involved in that. But if from end to end, if part of your process involves a tool like a spreadsheet, it's a lot easier than writing it all out longhand, as an example.
It's why I took the time to learn tools like Google Data Studio. Instead of spending a couple of hours or more putting together monthly reports for clients, the reports build themselves and automatically email themselves out.
Yep.
I
You
had
know?
a good example of that one as well. For one client, I was spending half an hour a month putting together their analytics for the month because they had their own spreadsheet, and I was hunting around finding all the data that they wanted from their Google Analytics. So I just went and built a data studio for myself, and it's cut and paste. I can do it in 4 minutes. That saves time. It's because
Yeah.
process.
And if they're in the middle of a special test and they really want to ride close herd on the results, that monthly report could be turned into a twice weekly report very quickly.
Anytime if they come and ask me, they don't look. I know they don't look at the report, which is a shame, but it's done now. And of course, that's not Google Data Studio anymore, is it? It's Looker. But we'll come to that later.
Yeah, I
have
always
one
make
client.
sure they read the report by having a meeting and giving them it in the report in the meeting and talking to them.
Pass. My clients don't need that kind of hand holding, fortunately. I've got one. We don't send them the report. They have the link to the Data Studio report, and he checks it whenever he wants. And he can set his own date ranges. All he can do is look at it and change date ranges, but he'll send me an email every once in a while and go, hey, can we add this to it? Yeah, sure, no problem. And he loves it. So it's been a great time saver for me there.
Dashboards are brilliant. I've been putting them together for many, many years, and it was quite obvious when you first start to use a dashboard how much easier it is to convey a message rather than digging through sheets of printouts from analytics programs. You basically build a set of dashboards. The first one is CEO level. It's got 3 things on it. And then you can go down to the next layer for his reports and the next layer for their reports, etc. So those people will get what they need at which level. And the people doing the grunt work, they'll probably want to dive into the data and actually see what's going on. But actually having those layers is incredibly important to get the messages across. And the CEOs will go, way up or down, let's have a look. And they may point stuff out and say, well, what's that dip? And always be prepared to come and say, oh, this has happened or that's happened. But yeah, dashboards are fantastic.
Anyway, I just thought that, I've seen like 3 conversations over the last couple of days along those lines. And I think that as particularly as solo practitioners, I think we tend to concentrate everywhere except ourselves. We don't think about evaluating the value of our time, the value of our knowledge, how effective it is. We've got to be looking at the ROI for the customer, but we got to look at the ROI for us too.
So one more thing about what people charge, and this one makes me very unpopular with a lot of people. If you are very good at what you do, where you live should not matter when it comes to your rate. I know some people in India, in the Philippines, and Ukraine who absolutely freaking rock. And then they charge 10% of what you can get here in the United States. It's like, no, you are working at a global economy these days. Charge the going rate. I don't care where you live. That's where we're running into problems with companies like Google, who are threatening to lower people's pay because they're remote and they've gone and moved to cheaper places to live. It's like, no, this is what it costs for this job. Where you live shouldn't matter.
Google, wait, okay.
I
I
disagree.
missed that one. Google pays rates according to the local demographics of where their employees live.
They're trying to.
The United States federal government has been doing that for a century.
Yeah.
If you get a per diem rate, when you're assigned someplace for a school, for instance, that per diem rate between being in Chicago or being in Pensacola is going to be very different.
Yeah.
Well, there
It depends on whatever the cost
maintaining-
of living is for the area adjusted, and it's tied to the COLA, the cost of living allowance, and it's going to vary geographically. If they send you to London, you're going to get a high per diem rate, because basically what they're trying to do is they're trying to reimburse you about 85 to 90% of your costs for an average stay, average meals, average expenses. Okay. So you're not taking a terrible bath, but they're also not letting you make money on it. Now, if you're willing to eat snack food from the local convenience store, you can actually pocket a little bit of change every day. But that's, companies have been doing this for a long time. And
But a per diem where you're sending somebody somewhere is a whole lot different than everybody
Sending a
works
salary,
remote
yeah.
now, and I've
Yeah.
decided to go move to the mountains.
I agree.
That's a whole nother issue entirely. Just like we had that here with my wife when she was working for Honeywell Aerospace, and they asked her to come back and do some more engineering work, and they wanted to play with the rate, and it's like, absolutely not. You're paying for the talent. You're not paying for where I am. So
Within the country, I agree, but the guy who's working in India, if there's a problem, I can't sue him. I can't do nothing. There's more
Well,
risk working for that person.
you
Gonna
can't sue me
cost-
either.
Huh?
I mean, you can't sue me either. I mean, you could
Yes,
try,
I can.
but it wouldn't get you very far. The thing is, if I were to pick up and move to India or Belize or any one of the, or Puerto Rico even, I'm not lowering my rates because I live somewhere cheaper. So why should they?
Well,
Yeah, and I agree.
And
with
I
that.
also have a rule. If people are thinking, I did have a go through this conversation with a potential client 25 years ago, where they wanted to change the jurisdiction of the contract so it would make it easier for them to sue me in the future if they needed to. I walked out. I fired
Yeah.
them before I
Yeah.
even hired them.
they're
So-
already figuring out how to sue you before they've even hired you, so no thanks.
Yeah, a mindset like that kind of gives you a red flag right off the bat.
Oh, yeah. They're already thinking of ways to sue you, no thanks.
So the pricing structure we do here, because you've all mentioned yours, I think I better jump in and say, because mine's slightly different. We do have a huge range of people we work with. So, excuse me, we do pro bono stuff for bits and pieces we like. We like doing that. When there's probably a day a week we do free stuff out of our week. But then we've got different levels of clients. So we've got the local florists, for example. My wife loves flowers. They get on really well. She gets a fantastic rate from us because we're like that. She's a good friend of ours. And I can experiment on our website and she has no idea. So I can try all sorts of stuff. So that's worth the money. But then on the other hand, and it goes through the range of small companies, and I work with some international mega companies, huge, great big things. They get a different rate. They get a massively different rate. But most of the time, I'm billing per day, and I have a spreadsheet with who I charge what and what I've said for in the past. But basically, on the whole, we only work with people we like, and we've got in a lucky position now. We can pick and choose. So we're very lucky on that, and it doesn't come down to how much we're going to charge them. We're okay. We'll if we need to, we'll go out and get clients that we don't get on with if we need the money, but we're okay. So we are in that lucky position where we can pick and choose people we like to work with, and those red flags come up all the time, and we turn away quite a lot of work. I wouldn't say a lot of work, but quite a lot of work. We'll start talking to somebody and go, no, we don't want to work with them. Not when they start chucking us a load of contracts and stuff. Again, no. We much prefer to get on with people and have almost gentlemen's agreements. We've never been sued. We've never had to take anybody to court. Nobody's ever not paid us because it works on trust. And I won't sell our souls just to bring the money in. I will walk away and say, no, I don't want that. But we're in a lucky position. And if you're starting out in this industry now, it's difficult. And I'd say go in-house. Go and find what you're worth. And then don't go in-house like I did for 27 years. Every 2 years, bugger off somewhere else. And then you'll work your way up and you'll find out what you're worth. And if you're really lucky, work for an American company because what are we, 111 today, and get them to pay you in dollars.
What do you think about companies that kind of set up an apprenticeship for you? Would you stay longer? I've been wondering about that. where they tell you the first year you're gonna do X, second year you're gonna do X, or if we see you're more further along in this, we're gonna move you along through the pipeline. There's testing in the whole 9 yards, like an apprenticeship.
I think that's a really good idea if it's paid properly as apprenticeship, not an internship. Because internships are wrong as far as I'm concerned.
Internships are just
Yeah.
people
It's not talking
trying
about
to get you to work for free.
Yeah, it's
Sorry.
just
and it's
legal
just
abuse.
chat them over and getting new fresh blood in, and it's just free.
They
Yeah,
should call them
apprenticeship-
slaves, not interns.
Yeah, well, they should do. Yeah, yeah. An internship for me is like somebody coming on a school holiday for 2 weeks just to.
Yeah,
'cause their
okay,
dad
that's
runs
an
the company or something.
internship.
Yeah.
That's an
but-
internship. I did that cooking. When I finished school, you had to go into the thing, but most times the people hired you that you went to work for.
Exactly. But if your firm is relying on certain positions to be filled by interns, you're in trouble.
Mhm.
Oh, you got a
Mhm.
bad business model.
Yeah.
Relying on free labor is
Yeah.
never a good business model.
No. You're going to have a high turnover of paid staff as well, I would think.
Yeah,
But
because
it's
no one
apparently-
wants to work with people like that.
It is quite common practice in certain areas. I believe law, there's a lot of it going on. Although in the UK, the baritons have been out on strike, which is the first time ever in history, which is very strange. But yeah, sorry, that was my take on what we charge. Means tested. That's what we do. We always look up people on Companies House and see if they've gone through dozens and dozens of firms and dissolved them all. And we're like, no, we're not going to work for you. You'll run a company for 2 years and run off with loads of unpaid bills.
you-
So,
You don't need us as another notch in your belt.
exactly. But also, it's got to be a company or person, etc., who does something we like. So one of our main clients is a badger trust. It's wildlife. We love wildlife, so they get a very good deal out of us. They do pay us quite a lot compared with the rest of us. They're very small staff, but they get a huge amount out of us. But we really like that. It's badger conservation and looking after badgers in the UK because they're getting culled by the government and they're trying to stop that. So that sort of thing we really like, and we'll lower our prices so that we can go in and help people. If we're making a difference, we don't just do it for the money. We want to make a difference to every business we work with. That's where we get our kicks. Plus a bit of money.
Well, plus that's also where you build a reputation and you get lots of recommendations and referrals, and it's just that's what the yellow brick road is made of. All those little attaboys.
Absolutely right. Everything we get is referrals. We don't do any advertising at all. If you look at our website, it's 2 pages, and the second page is a HTML sitemap,
There you go.
just for the completeness of it. And that site is built in AMP, purely AMP. There's no HTML page. It's just
God.
AMP. And
Okay,
I did that
blocking
just
you,
to
Simon,
see if
blocking you.
I did it to see if I could do it, and I did do it, and it broke Sitebulb because Sitebulb couldn't crawl it. They had to put an extra little switch in to crawl or crawl sites that are AMP only. BMW built their home page and quite a bit of one of their sites. It's pure AMP. Of course, it's all dead now.
That
Nobody's
was
using it.
the high point of my week, by the way, when I read that AMP is going away.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, gee. Of all the things you shit canned over the years, Google, some of which were worth having around, why did
Yeah.
this end up at the bottom of the list?
Because it took them this long to learn what they wanted to learn.
Yeah. So we can conclude that they have learned what they wanted to learn now, because now they've got to know. It can go.
Or they learned nobody wanted to use it, so they shut it down.
That's the direction I lean in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it was really popular, they wouldn't, they shut down Hangouts even when it was popular.
Well, yeah, but when you look at the size of the market, Hangouts really wasn't all that popular. It was popular in our circles, okay?
Yeah.
But there
Oh,
weren't a
okay.
whole lot of people outside of marketers that were using Hangouts. So it
Right.
probably didn't really hit that desired level from a Google standpoint.
I shouldn't have said Hangouts. I should have said Google Plus.
Google.
Well, that's what
Plus.
that's what I was thinking of, Google Plus, yeah.
Hangouts actually still is around, only it's on YouTube now.
Yeah.
All right.
And they're changing that now too, to where it's called Google Talk or some fucking thing. I don't know.
And what is
Got
it?
the email the other day, looked at it and said, glad I don't have to deal with this crap anymore.
And look at Meta. They're going to bring legs for the avatars soon. Is that going to save it? I don't think
I
so.
don't think so.
Gonna bankrupt.
Did anybody
Facebook.
see this morning that they're changing the name of, is it Google Search Console, or they're gonna call it
Data
Google
Studio.
Lookers?
Data Studio.
Data Studio,
Um,
yeah, gonna be,
Yeah.
Google Lookers? Give me a break. Can you get any more kindergartenish than this?
There
Look,
is actually a very, very good reason. There is a firm called Looker, looker.com. It used to be, if you look up looker.com now, you go to the Data Studio page or Looker Studio page. Looker used to be an enterprise BI tool, and Google bought it in 2020. So I would hope to see some of the enterprise BI stuff, graphs and everything for business analysis tools stuff to come into Data Studio, or what it's called Looker Studio now. So it sounds stupid to start with, but actually when you look into it, it makes sense. It's a firm they already owned, bought 2 years ago, and they've done that. But I haven't seen anything anywhere that says that this has some history. Yeah, I had to go look in archive.org to find out who they were. That was quite
I think
interesting.
there's a guy at Google who gets paid by the name. So he
Probably.
changes the name on everything.
Oh, there'll be a
And then-
team.
And there's a whole team of them that get paid
There'll be a-
by, how many things can we shut down this month?
Doc, you mentioned Meta, and they just released their new, their new VR headset. And we got to talking about it, and it reminded me that I have this sitting on my desk, the VFX1 headgear that was built in the 90s. Individually adjustable lenses because people's eyes are different. I mean, built-in, really good quality stereo. This thing rocked for the 90s. And what I saw from the Meta press release was no different than this and no better than this.
Hmm.
And this has had 20 years to take off, and it still hasn't even found the only use case that they had for this was video games. And it was awesome for the very few video games that supported it, but very few games supported it. And that's the problem I see with, Facebook's metaverse is it's a product looking for a use case, just like Google Glass. It's a product looking for a use case. And until they can come up with a reason that you have to have this, short of finally getting the technology to the point where, like Ready Player One, the movie, it certainly crushed the company, that's for sure.
The graphics are terrible.
Oh yeah.
If I want to watch cartoons, I'll watch the TV.
Well, the problem is because of their display resolution is so low. What is it, 640 by 320 or whatever?
I mean, you couldn't play a game on that right now, not even close. It's like comparing
play games from
Pong.
the 90s on it.
It's like comparing Pong to Halo.
Yeah,
that's where they are in the skate. They're going to go broke before they got a product.
And that's where I think, with them having a single person in complete control, he decided to go all in, where a more reasonable company might have stepped into it in a small R&D way and built it out and got it working to where people wanted it. They wanted access to it instead of saying, okay, here you go. I mean, you look at some of the other VR headsets that are available right now that you can play good video games on. I don't get it. I really don't.
Some people
So
think
then I don't get
everything
it
they
either, so.
touch will turn to gold, and
The weather mark for me is if Apple brings something out, they rarely invent something brand new. They'll take something that's already existing, and if they think there's a market for it, they'll make it a damn sight better than anything out there. So Google Glasses is a classic example. Apple probably have built stuff and went, yeah, it's good, but can't see a use case for it. We know they've been playing around with electric cars, nothing yet. And when they bring something out, you know, then the market's ready for it.
Yeah, but aren't they one of the leaders in autonomous cars? Google.
No, Apple.
Oh, you were talking about Apple. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm talking about Apple. If Apple bring a car out, then you know that autonomous cars are at the point where it's worth being there.
They won't build a car, they'll build components that go into it.
Yeah. Well, probably, yeah. Why build a car? But Apple are a hardware company. So they might do, but they're not a car company. But that's a big thing. And we know they're playing with it. But yeah, but coming back to Google Glasses, there are no Apple glasses. No doubt there's some R&D Apple glasses somewhere. They probably tried it out and they've decided market's not ready for it because it doesn't do something that reaches whatever Apple's internal thing is, like the Steve Jobs thing of will it sell big? No. You can always make things that a few people will buy, like big headsets and stuff. But yeah, Betamax is the one for me. Betamax is brilliant, but nobody bought it. VHS, not anywhere near as good. Everybody bought it, and that's the difference.
And that's because the porn industry went all in on VHS.
Yeah.
It's the same with cassette and tape deck. It's what people start buying. And I think with cars, it was when they started putting cassette decks in cars instead of tape decks that killed it.
Well, and go back even a few years before that, the old 4-track tape deck was much better fidelity than the 8-track. The real downside of the 4-track was it was an open deck. So in a car, especially if you travel dusty roads a lot, it took some effort to keep the thing clean. But the sound quality on a 4-track was much better than 8-track.
I just saw an old car that had a record player in it. Where the glove box should have been, it would fold out a record player. Their biggest problem with it was to get it to work, they had to have so much down pressure on the needle to keep it from bouncing and skipping while you're driving. It would just eat through records.
They eat the records. Oh wow,
that's ridiculous because surely you'd only use it when you stop. You have a picnic and put the record on.
You would think
it makes sense, but you don't play the record while you're driving. It's like you don't drink. Well, actually, you do drink while you're driving, but hence the cup holders.
Take a step back on that one.
Yeah,
You've never been to Texas, I can tell.
I was thinking the other day, I haven't seen a car with a car aerial for years.
They're all built into the glass now.
yeah, they're built.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know.
My truck has a little fin on top of it for the satellite.
They make more money with the aerial in the window.
Do they? I think spare aerials was a massive trade in the past. You get a truck coming down the road, slapping them all.
You'd have to replace the whole windshield. Remember in the old days, it was right in it. You could see the black line in the.
You see it, yeah.
But now I don't know how they do it. You don't see the lines in the windshield anymore.
I don't think they're in the windshield. I think there's a little fin on the top of the cars these days in Europe.
That's what they're talking about when they say when we replace the windshield, we recalibrate this piece. Okay. But aerials were always getting snapped off anyhow. So favorite.
Well, my truck came with a standard length metal whip antenna and the fin. And the first thing I did was take that long antenna off and replace it with a little stubby high def antenna that I just hate those big whip antennas now. Unless it's on the Jeep, in which case that one's like a 24-foot whip that goes from the back and arcs over and ties down to the front.
The little flag on it.
Yep. Gotta have that little flag so people can see it when you're ripping across the desert.
Or you've gone through a river. And there's just
Well,
a
I've done
flag
that.
showing.
Been there.
So I was at Brighton SEO last week, which is why I wasn't here, but nobody was here when they were last week. I realized,
Last
but
week we skipped entirely because I had
we
a
did indeed.
problem.
Brighton was very, very good. I would love to tell you all about all the talks, but I'm waiting to see the rewind because they filmed them all and they'll be available next week, I think, for me. But yeah, very good. They actually had an ice cream van next to the stage with free ice creams, massive queue all day. But next to that was a small graveyard with tombstones with everything, well, not everything, but a few things that Google have killed off.
A
Nice.
small graveyard, you say?
Yeah, I chose a few things, but a big one at the back said SEO is dead, which is hilarious. But yeah, it was good. Very good.
You know, it's
Cool.
kind of cool to see. Brighton's been a real popular conference for many years, but the folks that go nearly every year seem to be pretty consistently saying it's improving. They're upping their game. They're bringing in better speakers. They're bringing
Yes.
in better gatherings, better experience. And you know, it's cool to see that they're successfully building rather than just sustaining, because it's not
Yeah.
easy, you know.
No, it's not at all. And in fact, it's got to the point now where they've got some fringe events. So there's a couple of events on the Wednesdays. They've done training on the day before, but now the main things over 2 days as opposed to one, training the day before. But there's now fringe events with non-SEO stuff. So PPC, there's a PPC event, I think, and maybe some affiliate. I think it was an affiliate event as well. So they're growing it.
So are those like different days, Simon?
That's on the Wednesday before the Thursday and Friday,
I
which is
see.
the
Okay.
main conference. And I expect in the next couple of years it'll turn into a week's worth of events.
Yep, probably so.
Is that Dom Hodgson?
No,
It's
he
not here.
goes. Although I didn't see him this time, actually. I think he was there. No, Kelvin Newman is the guy that runs it from Rough Agenda. And I think that's his full-time job now. It's certainly, and it's the team that works with him. Because there's 4,000 people that go. It's pretty big.
Yeah, that must be one of the bigger European.
Oh, it is, yeah.
seminars, eh?
Yeah, it is.
I'm not sure there's anything bigger in the world, to be honest.
Don't say that to Search Engine Watch or no, Search Engine Land, whatever they're called. They're SMX. Yeah, that's it. Don't let them hear you say
I
that.
don't think SMS has that big a draw.
They used to.
They
Oh,
might
yeah.
have, yeah.
But then
And
they
I
added
don't-
all the extra bits in, didn't they? The music and everything. It's a music event now, not a digital event.
I don't know, have any idea what the attendance average is for like PubCon. You know, I would think that it would be pretty hefty. But the draw there really these days is more Las Vegas than PubCon.
Yeah.
People are just taking it as an excuse to go party their ass off and hire a hooker, you know?
Or just go to Vegas on the company's money.
Yeah, there you go. Go visit their money.
That's the other key bit about Brighton is the majority of the tickets are free. There's a ballot. And everybody goes, it's about 20% chance of getting a ticket. But you can pay for a ticket. So I've actually bought my ticket for April's event already. That's super early ticket. So I'll be going. But yes, most people put in for the ballot. And there's also company tickets where most of the companies tend to give them out to people, which is good. So most of the people going, it's just price of travel and accommodation, which is great.
How do they make money then? Because
Sponsorship from the,
costs you a lot of money.
yeah, there's a load of stands in the foyer area. It's quite big. It's probably about 25 stands from SEO companies. Basically, they're footing the bill. I would
Mm.
think.
SMX was even bigger than that. They still overcharge.
Yeah, so I've been to not SEO but other conference, marketing conferences and other things like that that work in when I used to work at HBC 72, and they were like 500 quid a ticket for a day, and it's like, you know, or 1,000 per ticket, and it's like that's where the companies running those things made the money, from the ticket price, and it was always just a massive sales pitch.
Mhm.
Which now looking back at it, I think, oh, nice jolly, but yeah, it's a waste of money for work, really.
Yeah, they weren't that much. When I went to them, there weren't that many sales pitches. I think in Toronto, people would have just got up and left if they started a sales pitch.
But when you're going to something which is a company one that is, you're on a jolly, and it's, you know, 500,000 a ticket, and your company's paying for it, you're going to sit there and you're going to get sales pitched at. Then I've done loads of those, but it's not, doesn't happen in the SEO world. That's more marketing and corporate-y type stuff.
They had people from Google and Microsoft who were putting on that kind of thing, but it was separate from the actual seminar.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think I was paying like $1,500 a day to go. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. No, maybe it was 1,500 for the 2 days.
So that was the ticket price to get in.
Yeah.
Jeez. So you really
Oh, that includes sandwiches and a Coke for lunch.
Yeah, gee. So for that sort of money, okay, so if a company's paying for it, it's not such a big deal. But if you're freelance or anything, that's a massive expense, and you want to be walking away from that with 1,500's worth of knowledge in your head. And I don't think anybody's going to give you that these days.
Yeah, I didn't get that. It was more meeting people.
Exactly.
I didn't even go in the last couple I went to. I never even went into a seminar. I just sat in the lobby and talked to people.
This happens at Brighton. There is some people that go and meet people outside of the event itself. So because once people come out, there is a big social scene afterwards, and there's most of the reason why people go is not just the talks and the conference bit, it's the networking. The networking is fantastic because you get, I mean, there were four people from Google there. John Mueller was there, Martin Split, and a couple of others, and actually the girl that does all the documentation for Google Search Console. And a lot of other stuff, webmaster bits and pieces. She was there as well. And Daniel, who's a GSC Google guy, and they were just there with people. Oh yeah, there was a lot of people coming out saying, asking for selfies and stuff, but you could just talk to all of them, and that was great. Being able to network with them and just mix with them. It's nice. Brighton's got that atmosphere there. It's really good.
Go to a bar afterwards and get them drunk and pump them for
Oh, well, that's the other good thing about Brighton is that the food there is just fantastic. There's everything you could think of, and it's very bohemian and packed full of it. So that's the social side of it is very, very good. So I recommend it to anybody here and who's watching. Hopefully, I'll get a free ticket for the promo there.
Yeah, make sure they see this.
Nobody watches this.
Brighton's a long time been on my top of my list of one I'd like to make it to.
You said that before, and I have mentioned that while I was down this time. And Doc, you'd be surprised the amount of people that said they would love to see you there.
Yeah, well, that's only because they've never seen me there. They'll get over it. I have that effect on people.
Well, it could be that you owe quite a few people a drink or two.
It could be. Yeah, I'd love to get over there for Brighton.
As far as traveling goes, I'd much rather be in Brighton than Las Vegas.
Oh, God, yes. Yeah, but
It'd be a lot
Vegas is,
cheaper.
a little bit of Vegas goes a long way.
Yeah. A
It's
long
nothing.
years, it lasts years.
It's kind of like Disneyland, you know. Once when you were 3 is fine. After that, meh.
Don't have the entertainment I like, and I'm not a gambler. So no reason to go to Vegas.
And it ain't cheap. Used to
But
be.
Go to Niagara Falls and to a casino now too. There's all
Yeah.
kinds of them there.
Simon, I know you were networking. Did you get a chance to go to the pavilion and see the kitchen?
No,
No,
sorry. Next time, if I can remember.
it's pretty amazing.
Honestly, I forgot, to be honest. But no, I must remember that. Yeah, there was a lot of networking. Lots of networking.
Socializing.
Oh yes, yeah, that as well. Yeah, it's good.
I know I've had a number of friends tell me that I should come, you know, they're in Europe or they're in the UK and I would really like to go. And then my daughter reminded me what a long trip that is from the west coast of the United States. 'Cause she's going
Yeah, even from the East Coast, it's not a.
from the East Coast, it's not such a big deal because she's going to the East Coast next week, and she was like, I was getting all ready to, you know, get ready for the long ordeal on the plane, and she said, Mommy, it's only 6 hours. Yeah, it's a big difference between going from the East Coast and going from the West Coast.
I've flown over to the west coast of the States, and I had to, I think we went via Chicago. So 2-plane hop, and that wasn't too bad. The longest flight I did was to Japan from the UK. That was
Yeah, I like what I like to do. Well, from here, from San Francisco, when I lived in the Bay Area, it's right on a great circle. So that was fairly easy. But from here, I usually go up to Canada and then fly from Canada across. It's on a different great circle route.
Well, that's like flying over to Australia from the West Coast to the States. That's a
Mhm.
long jaunt.
Mm-hmm. Actually, at one point in time, same daughter, they were thinking about moving to Australia. And I said, oh my gosh, it's so far away. And she said, it's about the same travel distance. I was like, oh, wow. Mhm.
Well, going is faster because it's partially downhill, you know.
That's it, Doc.
Takes longer coming back up because you're having to go up. Actually saw somebody with a straight face say something about that, about flying to Buenos Aires. They didn't understand. And they said, I can even show you. If you look at it, it says it's like 7.5 hours going, but it's 9.5 hours coming back because you're going up. Good
Oh
Lord.
my gosh.
And they were serious as a heart attack.
Oh, whoa, that is, whoa.
It's not because of that, it's because the world's spinning, isn't it? You've got to try and catch up. I get on planes, I always say to myself, well, a long flight, I'll get some sleep in, I won't get anything. I just watch films all the way over, try and get
Yeah,
as many
exactly.
as I possibly. That,
I
that,
cannot
that.
I cannot sleep on a plane.
I can't sleep on a plane either. I watch films or read. Yeah.
I pass out. I don't fall asleep.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really nice because I have a really I don't sleep. I just don't sleep.
I quit drinking though, so I can't do that anymore.
Can't do that anymore. Huh? Nobody likes a quitter, Terry.
Yeah, I used to start before I got on the plane. Usually cut me off on the plane.
Get a little of that pre-flight.
Oh, I scared shitless of planes, man. I had
Oh,
to
really?
get drunk to get on one. Oh, yeah.
Oh God, I remember coming back from New York from the Virgin flight, and the flight was delayed 4 hours. They said, "Don't worry, the bar's free." They wheeled me onto the plane, stuck me in the back, and just gave me more booze. And I don't know. I don't remember half of it.
Well, we're coming up on the top of the hour. Anything else we want to touch on today?
Well, I had an interesting experience last night. I was researching stuff for an article I'm writing, and all of a sudden, voila, there I was presenting about writing for semantic search in 2015.
Hmm.
And I thought it was interesting because the concepts are the same. It's just that the tools I talked about in the presentation, the tools have changed of, what if
Mm.
you're writing content, what tools you would be using. And that AI has expanded even more than at least me, thought
Right.
about in 2015. But the concepts are the same about, the user first and all that stuff. I was like, whoa, that was a long time ago. I mean,
Yeah, but because Google wasn't even a semantic, it wasn't even using Hummingbird and stuff like that.
Nope.
Then. It was a big talk in the SEO world, but it was all conjecture. None of it was based on any kind of facts like that.
right. So now we have all the facts, or some of the facts, that back up the theory. I mean, I think it's really interesting, and I think it makes it. I think Doc would agree with me. It makes it so much easier to write content because you're really focused on the thing that you're writing about, whatever that might be.
Well, you don't
You
have
should
to
have.
worry. You don't have to figure out if Google understands what this is about.
Right.
Exactly.
You know that it knows.
Just worry
that.
about the reader. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
It's
only word. And you
it's
don't have to count the matches and all that baloney anymore.
right. Yeah, I was talking to someone the other day and they were like keywords, keywords, keywords. And I said, what, our job really is to teach Google about this business, what it does, what it offers, what the services are, what the products are, all of the stuff, where it is.
But most entities are also keywords. That's the thing.
Yeah, exactly. So
But I still think you should call them entities now and not keywords. That's my.
I like, if you're going to use key anything, and I'd like to see people use key phrases,
Yeah.
because keywords
I
are
like
just wrong.
key
Key
phrases.
phrases.
I like
Few
key
yeah,
keywords
phrases.
are really in play anymore. Now it's almost always phrases.
yeah.
Because
Because phrase has
Phrases
context.
or at the thinking stage when you're conceptualizing, Simon, then I like to think of it as topics. There's a main topic and then what's
Exactly.
coming down below
but
are the subtopics.
I did an experiment where I decided I would just do a post that was like I was doing it in 1997, where you're repeating phrases,
Uh-huh.
even in a semantic web scenario. It placed number one right out of the box.
What was the phrase?
Semantic SEO audit.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. I remember
Okay.
you mentioning that. Yeah.
Not a lot of competition, but I have never
Some
worked.
competition, yeah.
I've never worked to get a link to the page, and it's still up near the top. And the thing is, I was the first one to write about it, so I am the author for that as far as Google is concerned.
I think I'm still ranking quite well for how to staple paper. which I wrote back in the 90s. It's a short blog piece, and it's lasted longer than several websites. My website's been through lots of changes, but a friend of mine over in the States put it on something, was it Boing Boing? I think it was something, I can't remember. And it just got massacred. It just went everywhere. Went viral for a while, and it's been on the first page ever since. It's not the.
Do you recall, Simon, there was, back in the early days of YouTube, there was somebody made a video, how to pour a glass of water.
Yes.
That racked up something like 12 million and a half views in like 3 months. People actually took 11 minutes out of their day to watch.
It was
how to pour a
11
glass-
minutes, how to pour a glass
That's
of
incredible.
water.
Well, there's awful lot of prelude and, scientific basis and all that. I mean, it was just, this guy really went over the top.
Oh, because
But,
the water's going down.
Well, first, you place your receptacle of water above the receptacle you want the water to land in, okay? I mean, he got very, very detailed, very scientific, and it was funny. But when you see the number of views this thing racked up, but this is way, way back. This is probably 20 years back when YouTube was still a new thing.
There's etiquette for waiters and stuff that if you had a video of it, someone might show a waiter.
How to do it, how to pour a glass of water right.
No, pour anything around the table if he did it right.
Five ways to pour water.
5 ways to pour water.
Five awesome ways to pour water.
My
That's the top.
stapling piece, actually, it was some science in it as well, because it was about the perfect angle to staple paper. So depending on what angle the staple was at. And it got copied, but it was one of the quite a few people started trying to grab the knowledge panel. It got a knowledge panel, one of the very first ones to get a knowledge panel. And lots of people trying to outwrite it to get that knowledge panel. And then you sort of see that people realize this is a completely rubbish bit of text. Let's write other things like this. And no doubt somebody's going, right, I want stories on anything like inane office things like this. How to pour a glass of water. They probably read my post and went, fuck it, we can do that. Let's pour some water. It's just a thing that came to me. I was at the office just thinking, what's the best angle? Because the way the paper opens, there is an option.
Oh, that makes a difference. It's true. The way the paper opens. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we're at the top of the hour, so I'm going to kill the live stream. Come back next week to see more about how to staple paper and pour water, or staple water and pour paper or something. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
Thanks, everyone.
Don't